What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 6. Bet Parks presents Stick to Hockey Live. It is a Monday edition. Sorry, I'm dealing with a little bit of a cough still, so I may have to hit this mute button so I can do that. So I go, and you don't hear it. But anyway, welcome to this edition. Start of the season, first week is over. Not even a full week. Flyers 2-0, comeback win against Vancouver after being down 2-0. And they come back in the second period. They get 2 goals on unbelievable play on the shorthanded goal by Travis Konechny. The 200 IQ play is what I called it on the radio, and sets up Scott Lawton to go in for the breakaway, who 9 times out of 10, maybe 97 times out of 100, will deke on a breakaway, but he does not deke and try and open up Thatcher Demko to slide it through the 5-hole, which is kind of Lawton's patented move. He just picked a spot and wired one high glove, and that tied the game. Then Travis Konechny picked up a goal in the third period. Flyers win 3-2. Of course, they opened the win with the 5-2 win over the New Jersey Devils. It's just 2 games. Maybe we should put a graphic on the screen that says it's just 2 games, 80 to go, but it's a good start. And it feels good to get a couple of wins out of the gate when you come into this season without tremendous expectations. Does the 2 wins change my expectations? Not really. It's a very long season, but they are off to a good start. You see some differences this year that we didn't see last year. Last year, they were horrific, abhorrent in second periods. Abhorrent. They came into the second period in game 1 against the Devils, tied at 1. They left the second period up 3-1. They came into the Vancouver game into the second period down 2-0. They left the second period tied at 2. They haven't given up a second period goal. And it's just the difference between a team that doesn't fold when things go bad. Because in the first period of the Vancouver game, they outshot Vancouver 14-4. Vancouver had 1 shot inside the dots. And, a period where Hart did not touch the puck a whole heck of a lot. They scored 2 goals in their first 3 shots. The first one deflects off of Nick Seeler, and that changes the trajectory to go up instead of where it was going to be, just about around pad level for Carter Hart, upper pad level, maybe 8 inches off the ice. And then the second goal, he gets bumped a little bit in his crease. John Tortorella said he didn't see enough to challenge a goalie interference. And the other part of it was that Garland just had too much time, as there was a little bit of a blown coverage in the D zone, but they battled back in the game. So it's a fine start for the Flyers. And it's a really tough week coming up. I mean, as my trash truck comes outside, I probably should have shut the studio door, but anyway, the week that's coming up, Tampa tomorrow night on the road, followed by Wednesday in Florida. So the Lightning and Panthers back to back. And I think we're going to see Felix Sandstrom probably in Wednesday's game against Florida. And then a couple of days off. They're off to Nashville to take on the Preds on Saturday, then right back home to take on San Jose on Sunday. So a lot of hockey this week, 4 games in 6 days, and some tough opponents. So, this season's about fact-finding and gathering more information, and we'll gather even more information this week. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be ebbs and flows. Right now, they're ebbing, and we'll see if they can continue, or not ebbing, they're flowing. We'll see if they ebb this week or how this week plays out, but it's a good start to the season, despite the fact they're missing a couple players still. Cam Atkinson still not going to be back, not making the road trip. Rasmus Ristolainen was put on IR, but did make the trip. I imagine that they'll date that back a little bit, and he could be available for maybe Wednesday. I'm not sure when they can date it back to. IR is you're unavailable for 7 days, but you can backdate it. So we'll see what the deal is there with Rasmus Ristolainen and Cam Atkinson and Sean Couturier, who continues to skate. Maybe he's 3 or 4 weeks away, which would be great. Let me tell you about Bet Parks, because Bet Parks is a great opportunity for you to get in on the action, make some money. It's the all-new casino and sportsbook app. It's the best one in the business. There's no question about that. And it's everything you want in a mobile casino and a sportsbook. It's easy to use, easy to deposit, fast payouts, easy to navigate, faster to win than ever before. You can bet same-game parlays, live in-game betting, player performances, first to score, exact scores, strikeouts, hits in the baseball playoffs. You can yards and thrown and rushing or touchdowns in football, college, and pro. It's all there for you. Everything you can bet and could imagine to bet, it is available on the BetParks app. And right now, all BetParks users can use that promo code Jason750 and get a risk-free bet up to $750. You believe this guy's got his backup light on out there? Terms and conditions do apply. And look for the weekly hockey bonus as well, the boost. Had one last week. It was the Flyers to score 4 goals and win in the opener. It was from plus 210 to plus 250, and that hit. So check out the weekly hockey boost as well. Download the BetParks app today. You do need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We're also going to tell you about Conquerville Subaru. Frank Seravalli is going to join us in just a moment, by the way. Got to tell you about Conquerville Subaru. I've been a loyal customer for so many years. Bought my first car there way back in the late 80s. Many cars since. And Conquerville Subaru, it's all about trust. Conquerville cares. And that's not just some silly little slogan or saying. They've put their money where their mouth is. And literally, they've been doing great work in the community for many, many years. And they were the first Subaru Nation Love Promise Dealer of the Year winner back in 2015. Great recognition. They continue to help the Children's Hospital of Delaware, 8 years supporting the Nemours Children's Hospital of Delaware. They continue to adopt classrooms, 15 classrooms at Marcus Hook Elementary School, giving the teachers $500 each of classroom supplies that they can pick on their own for their classrooms. And they continue the donation of thousands of coats every year to La Comunidad Hispana in Kennett Square. 10 years now, and that continues to this day, and it'll continue this year as well. It's a great time to visit their beautiful showroom on Route 202 in Glen Mills. Check out the certified pre-owned inventory and pick from a list from the great Subaru vehicles coming in as well. It's Conquerville Subaru, more than a dealership, great service department with a free car wash with every service appointment. So check them out again on Route 202 in Glen Mills. Visit ConquervilleSubaru.com and check out all the great cars and the great product that they have. And remember, Concordville cares. So the NHL season is underway. It has been compelling so far. And joining us right now from Daily Faceoff, formerly of TSN, formerly of the Daily News, a guy that I had a chance to hang out with the rink quite often back in his day, and he's gone on to do great things, and he joins us right now from Daily Faceoff. It is Frank Seravalli. Frank, how we doing?
Good. Glad to be back with you. Been a while.
Yeah, it has been. How's the growth been at Daily Faceoff? Because by my observations, you guys are booming right now. It's doing great.
Yeah, it's been really good to watch it grow, and just a lot of work. That's all. There's no shortcuts here in terms of building out a digital property. Like, you need manpower, you need hours, and it's been really fun to watch it all come together.
Coming from as just a reporter at TSN, and going back and forth between the country, doing a lot of traveling, what's it been like? Just you're doing a lot more of that behind the scenes stuff as well. You're a big face for Daily Faceoff, but what's it been like building the infrastructure?
Honestly, it's just something I never envisioned a path in my career would go down. Like, started at the Daily News, 2009 as a reporter, then became a national hockey reporter at TSN, and then to take this leap. And yes, like, I'm still responsible for all the reporting and appearing on shows and the insider work, but it's also the behind the scenes business aspect of it, helping, make sure that you have all the right pieces in place, managing people, managing budgets, managing all those things that need to come together from that aspect in order to run a successful business. And so we're on our way.
Oh, I love it. Great job, man. I love seeing the work that you guys are doing. Let's get into the season, Frank, because they kicked off last week. They dropped the puck on the 22-23 season. And, the Flyers get off to this 2-0 start. And look, it's only 2 games. Like, I feel like I should just put that in air quotes as a graphic at this point. But you look at the team and the way they've played under John Tortorella. What's been kind of your biggest takeaway?
Probably exactly what we thought that this team might be, right? And that is a team that works and competes. And, I think the early returns on that have been good. You're down 2-0 to a Vancouver team, doesn't faze you. Those types of things that I think will play out and be successful for this team in the long haul. I think they're starting to build the foundation of that. But I think it's really important to preface only 2 games. You played 2 non-playoff teams from last year. And I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer after a long and awesome, perfect Philly sports weekend. It's just that this is an 82 game slog, and they face 2 other teams that also have major flaws. The Canucks also blew a lead in their first game against the Edmonton Oilers. They were up even bigger, 3-0. the Devils, after they lost to the Flyers, they're heading into their Saturday game. Miles Wood is saying this is a must win, but it's game 2 of the season, game 2. So that's sort of like what you've been facing as teams that have certainly faced their own share of questions and issues. But I think foundationally, that's a good start, is a team that works and competes, because let's face it, in a lot of ways, they're lacking in talent. And the big sort of message and buzzword from their front office and Chuck Fletcher just starting the season has been, look how many young guys we have. And if you can get through a game against the New Jersey Devils and, the 5 goal scorers are all 25 and under, well, maybe that's good. Maybe this team is, can make something of their season, but they've got a long way to go.
Frank, the offseason's been conflicted with different messages, from going all the way back to January, an aggressive retool, and to Chuck Fletcher around free agency saying it's a year of stabilization. I tend to not really care what the message is. I always kind of look at, don't listen to what they say, listen to what they do. And to me, the right move was not to go out and get a Gaudreau, not to go for a DeBrincat, to find out what you have and kind of retool that way, whatever you want to call it, rebuild, retool, I don't know. What did you think of the off season, although the messaging wasn't good? And do you think this is the right path to go on a fact-finding mission this year to find out what a lot of guys are?
I think that's important. I also think the problem with that is, if you're going to do a rebuild, retool, pick whatever R word you want, is you need to have a burgeoning prospect pipeline. And that's kind of the thing that's been missing or not missing. It's the thing that is missing in this equation. The Flyers have gotten to this point, and for years we heard about patience from Ron Hextall and the draft process, and that's kind of played itself out now. Those guys have either all made it to professional hockey, and some of them have made it to the NHL, and some of them haven't. Others that have been in the NHL that you thought were going to be foundational pillars for your team have sort of flatlined for a bit. And now you've got this coaching change that comes in, a difference in philosophy, a difference in opinion, and certainly a difference in opinion that's going to be brought to the front office as well from the coaching staff, that there's a lot in flux here. And so, that's sort of, I think a fact-finding mission is appropriate. You can probably go out and get those guys that you mentioned this summer, but if you're in this spot anyway, even with them, are you really just prolonging the issue that, hey, wait, we may need to take a few pieces out of this puzzle in order to get to where we really want to get to? Who knows? When you ask me, if you were to say, what do you know about the Philadelphia Flyers? I'd say not much.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a lot of question marks, and some good, some positive, some negative.
Yeah. Flyers Daily, I did an episode on the top 20 biggest question marks, and I had 20 more. You know what I mean? Some of which can be answered this year, some of which can't be answered this year. Frank, you look at this team and where they're going, and, I totally agree with you. They need high-end talent, and maybe Cutter Gauthier is a guy that can kind of fall into that, but you need more of that coming. And look, if they end up in the lottery this yeyear, I don't know that that's a bad thing. I don't ever say
not this year. Definitely not this year. This might be one of the best lottery classes we've seen in a while.
Yeah, I mean, you got Fantilli, obviously. Bedard has been ridiculous. His numbers are already absurd. I mean, in 10 games, he took 140 shots. I mean, come on, give me a break.
And Mitchkov too.
Yeah, I mean,
this is a
great
whole.
Guys.
I think if you're in the final 3 of the lottery, you're not going. You can't lose this year. And obviously, the prize would be Bedard, the top guy. But who knows? We've seen enough, and hate to bring it up, but the Nolan Patrick draft with Cale Makar going 4. Given the consternation and the quote that surfaced from Bob Clark last year, it goes to show you the top pick isn't always the top prize.
Yeah, it's amazing too, because Colorado had the worst record in the league by 40 or 41 standings points. They end up 4th, and they drafted.
They were furious. They were out there saying, and I know Steve Yzerman has been in this spot too, where he was saying, with the Detroit Red Wings, we've had the worst team in the league. What more does it take in order to get that number 1 pick? And hey, it just goes to show you really never know. Yeah,
and they landed at 5 that year, didn't they? And take Moritz Seider.
Yeah, and look how that's turned out.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. Although this draft, you want to be top 3. What did you think of the Torts hire?
I think it's interesting in the sense that I feel like he would have been such a good fit for this team 10 years ago, if that makes any sense.
After Lavi?
Yeah, I don't know if you can go like one hard driving coach to
Yeah.
another. Like, I feel like you need that sort of break. And that's actually why teams more often than not make the coaching change. I know that he gets a lot out of a little, and that was sort of his mantra in Columbus. Like, if you go back, and yes, they had some really talented pieces for a stretch. Bobrovsky and net, Vezina caliber, Panarin up front, and they had a bunch of different guys that cycled through, and they had a really good team. I was actually at their playoff series against the Bruins as well when they got to the second round, and like they were just a team that he squeezed every drop out of, and you need that from a coach. I think in this case, is he, by the time they get to where they want to get to, and by the time they have the pieces that they want to get to, is he still going to be here? I think that's a big question.
Yeah. And he's a guy that, can rebuild a team. He's done that in New York, in Tampa, obviously, and in Columbus. And in year one, didn't make the playoffs, and then had multiple years of going to the playoffs with an arc. But the injuries, what are you hearing on Couturier and his maybe projected timeline? Because we're not getting a timeline out of the team. So what are you hearing there in the severity of the back issue?
I would say with Sean Couturier, they've actually tried to, ramp him down a little bit. I think it's one of those things as the season starts, you're in a spot where you just want to get out there and help your team. You have a new coach, you want to make an impression, all those things, even though we already know what Sean Couturier is and has established that level in this league for a long time now. I was told initially that if he was able to avoid surgery, the issue with his back would keep him out approximately 6 to 8 weeks. That was from, I think, maybe a week or so into training camp. So like if he has, like, I don't know, maybe a month left or somewhere in that type of range, I'd say that's probably pretty close. I mean, look, here's the thing with back injuries. That's another thing. You want to talk about question marks. You don't know. Like you may think you have your problem solved, and then you come back and play, and you have the issue pop up all over again, or it gets worse. So this is going to be a situation that's closely monitored for a long time with Couturier.
Yeah, back injuries are solved until they're not.
They may never be solved.
Exactly. And we may have to change, Frank, our expectation of what 100% Couturier is at this point.
I would reserve judgment on that until I know more, until we find out
Yeah.
more on what he's like on the ice. But I mean, look at a number of recent back injuries that have just absolutely derailed careers. Nick Foligno goes to Boston. He signs that 2-year deal. Like, his back had basically exploded when he played for the Toronto Maple Leafs. There was almost no chance that he had the opportunity to be successful in Boston. He was waived after the start of the year. Look at Jake Muzzin, another guy in Toronto now. He seems to be struggling through his season with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Backs are tough. They just are.
Yeah, they are. They're brutal.
And they're all, you look at Ryan Ellis too, like, in his core, like, you can't do anything without your core or your back as a hockey player.
No, you can't turn, you can't skate, you can't transition, you can't open, nothing.
You have no power. You can't do it.
Yeah, it's a major problem. Sanheim signs the extension, Frank. He would have been probably the top UFA available come next offseason if he remained unsigned based on the market. What do you think of that deal? Is it there's a lot of term there, and maybe eventually the cap hit with a rising cap, becomes pretty much a bargain. But what do you think of the deal?
Yeah, I don't know that. Like, I think when you take a look at Sanheim and the jump from where he was at 4.7 or so to 6.25, it's not an enormous jump. And I think when you get to this cap rising in a year and really beginning to take off like a rocket ship, 6.25 is just going to be the going rate for a guy who's playing top 4 minutes for you. It's not going to be a star salary. It's going to be something that's very manageable. And I think that sort of perfectly describes what Travis Sanheim is. He's reliable. I think you're hoping at some point that he'd be producing a little bit more in terms of point production. He's, sort of been in that general ballpark of that sort of 30 to 35 points. And I think he has more to give, which I wonder, what does Travis Sanheim look like on a better team if he's playing with some better players around him? Does that point production begin to rise a bit? And then that's one way to really make it turn into a bargain.
Yeah, and the thing with him too, he doesn't really see power play time to collect points there, so that's part of that equation as well. Does this now allow them, because you have Zamula on that left side who's playing on the third pair right now? They sent Cam York down. You have some left side guys coming. Does this allow you to figure out if Provorov is a long-term solution here, and if he's not, then he's very dealable?
Well, I think that's a huge part of their fact-finding mission, is two guys in particular. Ivan Provorov, what is he? What does he slot as now, and what does he slot as on a really good team? And then the other part is Travis Konecny, and we're already seeing some of the early returns in the feedback from John Tortorella, which, he really seems excited about that compete level. There's no question Travis Konecny has the compete and drive in him. When you get a Travis Konecny who's on, you're like, this guy is so impactful. Pick any one of the two true pain in the arse players to play against in the league. He's up there.
Probably Marchand.
He could be Marchand light. But the problem is he goes then 2 weeks where you're like, where is Travis Konecny?
Yeah. And
that's what's frustrating, is he has it in there somewhere and he's shown it in his career. How can you find a way to get that out of him on a consistent basis? And until you do that, I think you're going to have that question there. Off to a good start, only 2 games, but let's see where it goes.
Yeah, he's a guy that has started well the last 3 or 4 seasons. As a matter of fact, he had the hat trick last year early on and put up some good points, but you're right, he kind of faded at points. And, pre-bubble, he was a different player, and he's got to get back to that. He's got to show exactly what he is. And I think under Torts, I think with Giroux not here, Frank, it's an opportunity for a player like Konecny to grab a little of that leadership too, because he was a guy that wore a letter at all levels prior to getting to the NHL. Yeah,
and someone who's really well liked. So that's that's the other part when you say goodbye to some of these vets, and a Couturier's out of the lineup, you have opportunity for other guys to step up and show what they're all about. And I would think at this point you would know what Travis Konecny is. I mean, this is year number 7 as a full-time NHL player. That's a long stretch. That's a long run. So, at some point, I think, depending on how he continues to develop this season with John Tortorella, he probably is what he is, right? And so you have the question about Konecny and Provorov, and you're saying, well, if these guys aren't what we think they are or thought they might be, maybe it's time to move on and take those pieces that you get back and then, really put that rebuild into full drive.
And hopefully establish a little bit of better value for that proposition as well, because value this offseason it wasn't worth entertaining a move, right, Frank? Because the value on those players was down too much?
I think so. I think you never want to sell it, when a player, just like your house, when it's at its lowest value, you want to see if you can build that up. And as you go through the process of building it up, you may find something that you otherwise didn't know.
I talked to Gary Bettman the other day, Frank, and I asked him about this. It was a very interesting offseason around the league. And a guy like you who worked north of the border for a long time for TSN, we saw players get traded to teams in Canada, obviously Huberdeau and Weegar, and they signed long-term extensions. We see Johnny Gaudreau leave Calgary, but sign in Columbus. And, excuse me. And these are markets where we tend to say these are not attractive markets for players to go to. Is something turning in the league right now? Because these are things that everybody left Columbus before. A star goes there. Players are committing long-term to Calgary after being in no-tax Florida. Is there something turning here a little bit?
I don't think so. I think you have different individual circumstances. Johnny Gaudreau is someone who clearly, didn't love the limelight, I think, and is generally by his nature is a pretty quiet and reserved guy. So that doesn't surprise me. And then you have 2 guys in Weegar and Huberdeau that are Canadian, had not played in a Canadian market before, and have their team, given the situation that they were in after not being able to retain players who were uninterested in making a commitment, slap 8-year deals on the table that are massive. So,
Yeah.
if someone's handing you, $84 million to Huberdeau and 50 some to Uyghur, like, you're like, okay, like, yeah, I'm in. So I
Set
think,
for life.
I don't know that anything has necessarily changed. Americans, for the most part, would like to play in the US, and Canadians certainly don't mind. Some of them don't mind going home.
All right, last thing for you. What's that contract look like for an American for Austin Matthews?
It's expensive. Honestly, I could see him being the NHL's, and this is one of my bold predictions to start the year, is that he's the NHL's first ever max contract. Max term.
20%.
Yeah, max term and max dollars, which is 20%. The way I had worked it out was 8 years, $134 million when you round it up. And that's perfectly matches his jersey number of 34, which seems to be a trend for him in his contracts that he signs.
Wow, that'd be amazing. Frank, great work at Daily Faceoff. Where can people check out the pods and all the content you guys put out?
Dailyfaceoff.com, podcast, wherever you get Apple, Spotify, wherever it is, you can find us.
Frank, thanks so much for doing this, man. Be well.
Thanks, Jay. Great to be back with you.
And there he is, Frank Seravalli. Thanks to him for joining us from Daily Faceoff. Great stuff. Love talking to Frank. Provides a very interesting perspective after doing the local job for a period of time and then going and working for a major outlet, and one of the great outlets that covers the game at TSN, and now having great success with Daily Faceoff. They put out great content as well. So make sure you check that out. We here at Stick to Hockey Live love to support the other podcasts as well. I'm in love with podcasting, first of all, because if you're a hockey fan, you get served so much better than any radio or anything like that. If you want to hear specifics on the team, you can find great team podcasts. If you want to hear specifics on the game, there's those podcasts. I mean, geez, you can go out there. If you just want to hear about goaltending, you go to the In Goal Radio podcast with my buddy Kevin Woodley, who's appeared here a couple times, and you get great breakdowns on the goaltending position. So I'll tell you what, podcasts have been awesome for hockey fans, and I love all the ones out there. There's all different kinds too. That's the thing. You have real polished ones. You have podcasts that are more fan-centric, and there's going to be something out there for you. So thanks to Frank Seravalli for joining us on this episode of Bet Parks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. Coming up this week, we'll be back Wednesday. Anthony DeMarco will join us on Wednesday. And Friday, I'm going to see if we can get Anthony Sanfilippo. We were unable to connect last Friday. Ant was supposed to be on, but some things came up. He's covering the Phillies as well. So there was a 12:30 game, so we unfortunately didn't get to connect with Anthony Sanfilippo last week. So we'll try and do that this week and see if we can get Ant on and break down what's happening this week. It's going to be a busy week, 4 games in the calendar week. Again, tomorrow night against Tampa, Florida on Wednesday, Saturday against Nashville, all 3 of those games on the road. And then Sunday, they'll be back home to take on San Jose. They'll get San Jose, Florida, and Carolina to wrap up the month with those 3 games at home as well. So a lot of tough teams coming in. Good start, 2-0. Absolutely. You like the start. But where does the team reside after this week, after some tough competition? The Devils are a team that has had expectations the last couple of years, but just has not lived up to them. They went out, not this offseason, the prior one, and got Dougie Hamilton. They've got Jack Hughes. Nico Hischier didn't play in that game against the Flyers. Of course, he was taken number 1 overall ahead of Nolan Patrick in that draft, and they just haven't come to fruition yet. I wonder if they're good enough in goal with Mackenzie Blackwood. So we'll see if the Devils can kind of get it pointed in the right direction. The odd thing is Devils only came in the final standings last year 2 points ahead of the Flyers. So I think they had 63 points, the Flyers had 61. So we'll see what they can do this year. I mean, the Metro is a tough division. And when you look at, the standings right now, I mean, we're 2 games in. I mean, these are almost pointless looking at the standings at this point. I mean, there's obviously Pittsburgh and Washington. Can they, maintain what they've done for so long right now? Washington's 1-2 on the season. Pittsburgh at this point is 2-0. They've only played the 2 games as well. But I mean, they've scored 12 goals and only given up 4. That's pretty damn good. Carolina 2-0 at this point. Flyers obviously 2-0. The Rangers 2-1. The Islanders sitting at 1-1. And like I mentioned, the Caps are 1-2. The Devils are 0-2. And Columbus, after grabbing Gaudreau, I mean, they were hoping for a good start. They're 0-3 at this point. Who have they lost to? I haven't really dove into the Columbus schedule, but so far, Columbus, 3 games in, a 3-game losing. They lost to Carolina, good team. They lost to Tampa 5-2, good team. They lost to St. Louis 5-2. I mean, so this is a little scary here that they lost 4-1, 5-2, and 5-2. That's a lot of goals given up. You're looking at 14 goals in 3 games. You got to be better defensively than that. They get Vancouver coming up tomorrow night and Nashville on Thursday. So not a great start for Columbus, but Gaudreau is going to have success there. I don't think he's going to be able to duplicate the success that he had in Calgary with that line with, Elias Lindholm and Matthew Tkachuk and under Darryl's system, where I think Gaudreau was, a plus 60 last year, which is an insane number. But we'll see how that plays out for Gaudreau and for Columbus this year. So much runway left in the season, and so many different things can happen. We'll see what teams get besieged with injury to key players, or what teams have guys step up. We don't know any of those answers just yet. We don't. Some guys can get off to a good start and tail off. That's what you're hoping that Konechny does not do this year, is tail off. He's gotten off to a good start the last couple of seasons, and we'll see if he can maintain that. Sorry, still dealing with a little bit of cough, so I just wanted to turn off my mic there so you guys don't have to hear me clear my throat. Let me tell you about the BetParx app. Fantastic app for betting all the sports, whether it's baseball playoffs, whether it's the football college pro season, whether it's hockey, whether it's Formula One back this week in the U.S. at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Whatever you want to get, golf, you name it, it's all there for you. Soccer, both overseas and local. Great way to get your action in on live in-game betting, same-game parlays, player performances. All that is there and easy for you to navigate, easy for you to check out, and easy to win and faster to win than ever before. So download the new BetParx app. It's easy to sign up as well. And use the promo code JASON750 for new and existing users. That'll get you that risk-free bet up to $750. JASON 750. Terms and conditions do apply. Also, look for the weekly hockey boost coming up. I think it's on Wednesday this week. So look for that as well in the BetParx app and take advantage of the great boost. Download the BetParx app. You do need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And also check out Conquerville Subaru on Route 202 in Glen Mills. Visit ConquervilleSubaru.com. Check out a list of their inventory of great used vehicles, certified pre-owned vehicles, and also a list of incoming Subaru vehicles as well. And check out all the great work they do in the community, whether it's Nemours Children's Hospital of Delaware, the La Comunidad Hispana on Kennett Square, where they donate coats, the classroom supplies they supply to Marcus Hook, all there. They do great work in the community. So check out their beautiful showroom again on Route 202 in Glen Mills and their pre-owned inventory, and pick from that list of incoming Subaru vehicles as well. Plus great dealership, great service department where you get a free car wash with every visit. So again, visit ConquervilleSubaru.com online and check out the showroom on Route 202 in Glen Mills. Remember, Conquerville cares. Like I said, we'll be back on Wednesday with another brand new episode of BetParx Presents Stick to Hockey Live. That'll be episode number 7. I think on Wednesday, too, with Anthony DeMarco, we may have to go through some of the message board comments on things that people seem to think that I've said. I get these Google alerts with my name. My wife set this up years ago. I should just turn it off. And I get these Google alerts when my name is mentioned on a website or something like that. Some guy said that I said that Shane Gostisbehere is not an NHL player. Never said that. Never said it. Find me where I said that Shane Gostisbehere is not an NHL player. I don't think he's a good NHL player. I think he's an average NHL player. He's got warts. I never said he wasn't an NHL player, though. People make these statements that I said things that I've never said. Make assumptions. Maybe we'll go through those and do some corrections and clear the air a little bit. I get just fucking murdered on those boards. I don't give a shit, though. But, some people agree with your opinion. Some don't. You're entitled to your opinion, whether you think I'm a prick or dickhead or whatever. Have I been a dick on social media before? Absolutely. And I'm trying to fix that. When you got people coming at you all the time, it's hard sometimes not to be a dick. But I'm trying to engage less. I engaged too much on social media for a while. I'm trying not to do that anymore. my theory now, for promotional purposes only. All right, we'll be showing you Wednesday on another edition of Bet Parks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. Everybody, have a great Monday. Enjoy the hockey coming up tomorrow night. Flyers and Tampa. We'll have a breakdown of it and a preview on Wednesday's episode of the Florida game. But enjoy your Monday. Enjoy the 2-0 start, and we'll talk to you coming up on Wednesday on another edition of Bet Parks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. Have a great day, everybody.